Generals, you see this stats and the others. How many of you just driven down the road and seen a mom and pop store, stop there specifically and visit the town? Generally speaking, when people see these larger chains, they're familiar with them and they're comfortable with them, and that's where they go. But in the end, the dollar that the dollars that are spent at like a dollar store chain of sorts doesn't go back into the community. Everything spent in Harmony is oftentimes cycling back and forth, and that helps boost the economy of this town. And I think that's about all I have to say on that matter.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you.
Any others for the public forum?
My name is Michael Himley, and I live in Harmony. And I agree with many of the sentiments that were shared this evening. And I guess I come from a different perspective, knowing that we have data, we have facts that are presented to the council members. You can do with that as you will. But I think it's also the point of Harmony has been a small town thriving with small town businesses. And if we just let a massive corporation, multi-million-dollar business come into Harmony without considerations for what the implications are, it seems that we are doing the older generation a ill service, if you will, by kind of throwing their life's work away. And I think of that with my father, who worked for decades at the grocery store and committed his life to that business. If that business goes away because Dollar General is an unfair competitor to Harmony Foods, that just doesn't sit right with me. And then me as a younger generation wanting to live here in Harmony, contribute to the community. If you're asking me to compete with a corporate business like Dollar General, that makes me think twice about what you're asking me to do. It seems a lot more difficult that way compared to going to a smaller or another small town that welcomes small businesses and limits unfair competition like Dollar General.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
Any others for the public forum? Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. New business, state disaster.
Yeah, so good news from the storm we had in mid-December with the high winds. The governor did sign a state disaster bill, which means that the state will help pay for 75% of the damage that was caused to the city. So the poles that were brought down by wheelers over there, they will help pay for 75% of that cost. Any other cleanup the city had to do, they'll help with that too. We probably, with labor and potential fixes, we're probably somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000 in damage for the city. So we were impacted by it. We lost some power that night, so it was nice to hear. I don't know where to put that, and I just want to give you guys an update on that I have to continue to do some work with that to make sure we get the funds for that.
Some individuals that remove trees, any capability for them to?
Not in this. This is
Okay.
This is geared towards
This is all infrastructure.
Infrastructure
Public
related.
infrastructure.
so any
So even if we removed a
So
tree
if-
for somebody, we couldn't.
I'm going to ask for how much time our guys work that day.
Okay.
Because if they directly work with moving a brush pile, taking down a tree, cutting that tree, there were a lot of trees down in the right of way that day too. So that kind of plays into that number.
And near power lines.
Luckily everyone was safe that night. But that was a nice to see. We got that notice late last week.
Okay. All right, building and maintenance.
In your report, you have very quick news update on the wastewater treatment plant. It's nice that he's giving us monthly updates on that. And then a continued update on the internet grant. Today, the state finally reached back to me after I resubmitted the grant proposal with the proper names taken out of it. There's a few more documents that I have to submit with some more name changes on it. He hasn't given us a for sure if we'll be accepted for that internet grant, but odds are that as long as we follow the guidelines, we still should be awarded that $2.4 million. We haven't spent a dime of anything yet. I've been waiting for the official okay before we jump into that. The reason why we had to resubmit is because a local ISP had their name on the application, and they would not be allowed to bid on that project if their name was on the application. So in order to have an open playing field for everyone, we wanted to resubmit it without an ISP's name on it so everyone could bid on it.
All right. That's all you had for building? and
That's all I
maintenance?
got for that. It's a
Okay.
pretty, for having a heavy meeting last month, it's a light one this month.
EDA board.
Um,
Those minutes
I will
are-
say that there will be a public hearing tonight for the small city block grant too, so.
And that hasn't been scheduled.
Oh, no, it was scheduled for tonight. It just didn't, it was posted on our board out front.
Okay. Do we have to open that?
Yes.
public hearing? And we can run that concurrently with
Yep.
our council meeting? All right, at this time, we'll open a public hearing on the internet.
No, on the small city block grant for,
Oh, small city grant. Yep, resolution 2204.
I'll have my colleague Allison.
All right.
this is the project that we got last year too.
Right.
Good evening, everyone. So if we are officially in the public hearing now,
Yes, yes.
so there are just a few things that I'll ask that definitely get noted into the minutes because we'll send the minutes to Deed. And I'll run through the list quickly and then we can talk about each one. So the first is citizen input, our proposed activities, overall costs, schedule, staff that will be working on this, and then compliance with historic requirements. And I'll back up a little bit. I'll introduce myself. I'm Allison Wagner. I am the Director of Grants at CETA. And we, in partnership with SEMCAC, are applying to a Small Cities Development Program grant through DEED, which is the Department of Employment and Economic Development. This is actually a HUD grant. It's a federal grant that comes from HUD. They then disperse the funds to the state. At the state, it's DEED that they disperse it to, and then DEED decides which cities get awarded. So we already did go through a survey phase, and the good news was that there was a lot of interest. So we moved forward. We did a pre-application. We have now been invited by the state to apply to the full application. So the proposed activities that we will be doing with the grant are both commercial and housing. SEMCAC, if we get awarded, will be dispersing the housing portion, and CETA will be dispersing the commercial portion. So the proposed activities are commercial and housing. And the plan or the proposed activity would be to rehab 15 commercial units and 15 owner-occupied houses. The grant funds will be first come, first served based on the order that we received the surveys. Overall costs and project financing. So the city has committed to leveraging $35,000. Thank you for that. And then for the owner portion of the grant, owners can get up to $25,000 to rehab their houses, and it's 100% forgivable if they own their home for a certain number of years. Typically, it's 7 years. And then for the commercial portion of the grant, commercial property owners would have to put in 20%. and the maximum they could get is 40,000. So that's how that works. And we're figuring with the leverage sources between the city, some other programs that SEMCAC has, and then also with the owner portion for the commercial side of it, the total project would be about $1,087,750. If we are awarded and if we get what we are asking for. CEDA and SEMCAC will disperse this. We've already been through this. And then for complying with historic requirements, the entire downtown is a historic district, and that is our commercial target area. So we will be working with the State Historic Preservation Office to make sure that they sign off on each project. And they will need to sign off on each one of them since it is a historic district. And so I think I have covered everything that DEED wants us to cover, except for we do ask for citizen input. So if any citizens have any questions or input on us applying to the final part of the grant, now would be the time for that.
Real quick question behind you.
Sure.
The business district is historic, but the individual businesses do not have to be on the historic register, correct?
Correct, but we will still have to get approval from SHPO just because it's in that district. Yep.
And you said we had more than 15 respondents for each commercial and housing?
Correct.
So the recipients would be picked from that existing pool. There's no
Yep.
more.
It'll be first come, first served based on the order that we receive the surveys back. We do anticipate that some projects hopefully will come in under budget. So hopefully we will be able to go beyond that. This is an estimate, for example, with the commercial, if each commercial project is around 34,000, the max we could do is 15 because unfortunately DEED has a cap on how many we can do. So we asked for the maximum that we could, based on that dollar amount. And I will say that that dollar amount is higher this year. And part of the reason is because costs have really increased due to COVID-19. There's supply chain issues. And we are seeing in other communities that these projects are coming in a lot higher than they had pre-pandemic. So hopefully if costs come down a bit, we will exceed the goal. But the goal is 15.
What about residential?
Residential, the goal is also 15.
There's income restrictions too in that, right?
Yes, and for residential, it needs to benefit low to moderate income individuals. So in the preliminary survey, we were able to tell at that time anyway who was income eligible and who wasn't. But there'll be a screening process that we'll go through again because sometimes people's circumstances change. But we'll start with the list of the ones that were eligible at the time when we surveyed.
How many were there residential? How many surveys returned?
You know,
Roughly.
I don't have.
It was like 50, 75. There was
Okay.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we won't run out of people.
Yeah, that was SEMCAC side, so I don't have the exact number, but yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was 75.
I can dig that information up, but it was quite high turnout.
I was just worried if we only had 17 and we ran out of people.
We won't
run out of people.
And you know, the other thing too is if people had multiple commercial businesses, it may only be that they get qualified for one, so we try
Right.
to spread it around. You know, if the first person on the list, for example, had 5 buildings, they wouldn't necessarily get all 5. It would be just probably that one, and then we move on so that we can spread it around.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
One more question.
Yep.
And so you're gonna be drawing from the pool of applicants you've already had. If someone didn't get theirs in time, there's no opportunity for them, is that correct?
If someone didn't get them on time, we can add them to the list, but realistically, with all the interest that there is,
Right, you've already got
we most likely won't get to them. One thing to note is that and I'm not positive how SEMCAC has it set up, but I believe they have it set up for 7 years. So you have to own your home for 7 years. Otherwise, if you sell before then, it's prorated and you have to pay a portion of the funds back to the city. If the city gets paid back more than $35,000 in a year, then SEMCAC and CETA would come back in and reuse those funds in the same way. If the city gets paid back less than 35,000, it's considered local income, and then you can use it for a community purpose. But one community purpose you could consider would be to just move down the list farther and help more places. And especially with housing, it's great that we have a lot of interest, but there will be people that move or maybe make an update or decide they're not interested when we get to them on the list. And so that's actually a really good number to get through most on the list, probably.
This is the second housing grant that we've done since I've been here. I think the third or fourth that the city has done on just the housing. It might be the second or third one on the commercial side. We didn't qualify for the commercial side the last time we did it when I've been here. We had a couple of people that sold properties about 5 or 6 years down the road, so we did collect a little bit back at that time. I think we had a couple people that changed properties right at the end of it, so that's where we went back and were able to get a couple of other people on the list and hit a couple more houses. But at the 4 or 5 years down the road, when they're only paying back about $5,000, you really can't do a whole lot at that point. So what we've done is we've created on our books a special commercial rehab loan fund. And there's about $35,000 in there. So we basically pooled that for future projects like this to provide the match so that we don't have to levy for it. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
where our match.
It's not coming out of existing levy. It's coming out of that.
Did you talk about the schedule?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and this is the reason why I probably forgot that. So really our schedule depends on deed schedule. They like to make awards in the spring. And the next step after that would be doing an environmental review process, which sometimes can be lengthy and take a couple months. And then we'll finally get the okay to use grant funds. But lately, deed has been running several months behind. So the schedule could vary depending on deed. But thank you so much for
Who pays for
reminding
the
me of that.
environmental review?
So we do the environmental
Okay.
review at CETA and SEMCAC, and we've already built the admin
Okay.
dollars into the grant, so it won't cost the city any extra. It would come out of the administration dollars that are built into the
Just
Much more
grant.
streamlined than the internet grant.
No, I'm saying I already have Bolton and Mink doing one environmental review, so I was curious if we could just extend them doing a different one.
It would be great if they could do this one, but And-
The other question is, you said spring of 22?
yeah, spring of 2022 is when they should award if they're on schedule, but they have gotten very behind. So we can't make any promises with the schedule. But I think when they say implementation schedule, they just kind of want you to know the process, that the environmental is first and then we start after that.
I've been telling everyone to plan on summer projects if we're successful. It might be early fall, but that's something we'll just have to play by ear. So, and it is something that they can layer with other programs that the EA offers. So.
Yeah, and just some ideas of what can be done. So for housing, it's almost anything exterior. So roofing, siding, windows, doors, railings, some cement if it's a tripping hazard. And then we address health and safety concerns within the home. Lead has to be a priority. So if the home is over a certain age, we will do a lead inspection. If there is lead, we have to prioritize that first. It's typically found in the windows. And then we can also do things like update electrical and fix other health and safety issues inside. On the commercial side of things, we prefer if businesses focus on the exterior, it's mostly to fix the exterior facade, but we can do things like update electrical or heating if it's a hazard within the building.
So if somebody's awarded one of these grants, what is their timeline to finish?
That's a great question. The rule at deed has always been that there's 3 months to have the work completed. So what happens is we meet initially with the interested person when we get to them on the list. We do a walkthrough with them and let them know what's eligible. We do a work write-up. We send it out to contractors. And then we have a pre-construction meeting with both the owner and the contractor where we let them know the work is between them, but the city will actually be the one paying the bill. So it's traditionally always been 3 months. However, As a result of COVID-19, for example, windows alone can be a 5-month wait. So deed has become more relaxed on that, but we do have to let them know every time a project goes beyond that. I'm hoping that by the time this grant is awarded, if it is, that maybe those wait times will be less, but that's really up in the air right now. We've actually had projects that have been open for a year just because we're waiting on one specific small thing for one part of their project.
Because most contractors are all swamped too.
Right. Right. And if there are local contractors, that's one thing to give them a heads up on. If anyone is interested in becoming a lead certified contractor, that's great because that's what we'll need for a lot of the housing projects. That would be a great thing that I would recommend the city use any extra money for that they have. I think the training is less than $1,000. It's just getting contractors trained. And then with the commercial projects, Davis-Bacon wage rates do apply, but they don't need any, they just need to be licensed. They don't need any special certifications. So it's good if contractors in the area are aware that these will be coming.
We did, I think, 13 homes in 2014 or so. Really well. So hopefully the supply chain issues are done by the summer, which I'm not, I won't hold my breath, but we'll see. So we'll see.
I think when you originally talked to us at EDA, I found it that you also like included furnaces and things like that. Is
Yes,
that correct?
furnace can be considered health and safety if it's old and there's a chance it could quit working. So,
Not
yes.
air conditioners.
Can't be
Air is
comfortable.
allowed
Can't
in
be com-
commercial,
yeah.
but not in
Okay.
residential.
Go figures.
Why? I can't answer that one.
Why we have our expert. panels.
Well, I just wanted to let them know that too.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity, especially for folks that are looking at, future proofing, that are maybe retired or maybe downsizing, get something fixed up, that they're gonna be there for a little bit, even if they're not gonna be there for 10 years or 7 years. It's just something they don't have to come up with any money out of their pocket on the housing side for, so, they can deal with it when they move out of the house, so, pay for it then, so.
So that should be everything for the public hearing. Thank you so much. And then I think there's a resolution. And then there's also there's a citizen participation plan and a conflict of interest policy that we also would like you to approve tonight.
Yeah, they're all in the packet for you to look at.
So we have to close the meeting, the public forum first and then act
Yep.
on this.
Close the hearing and then we can go from there.
We don't allow public to speak
Oh, yeah.
before
Yes, we
close.
can.
Any public interested in speaking before we close the?
I thought we did that already. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2204.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve 22-04. Any further discussion?
Question. If I decide to use this, do I vote?
You need to abstain from voting. And if you have voted at all previously, you most likely are ineligible.
We didn't vote on anything.
There would have been
I
a
don't think we
prior,
vote on anything yet,
No.
so.
wasn't there a vote on something
The
about the
EDA.
historical? Oh,
The EDA have a vote to go forward with this? Will that count?
We might have, I'd have to look.
Because I think EDA made a recommendation to council on this matter.
I'd have to look, yeah. The best thing is if you have any intentions of using
Yeah.
this, abstain.
better to abstain now. We can always figure out the other part later,
Yep.
of whether it's already disqualified or not.
And
Right. I don't want to.
question here, would the motion want to include the conflict of interest disclosure and
I was just gonna ask if I could amend my motion to include the conflict of interest disclosure in the citizen participation plan.
Is that all right with the second term?
Can I take a minute to think about it or? Yeah. Yes, I
All right,
second that.
so the motion's been amended to include the Resolution 22-04, the conflict of interest disclosure and the citizen participation plan. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Any other votes?
Abstain, I think.
Yep.
Joe Sagan is abstained. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Park Board.
Was there anything else, Chris, was there anything else for EDA
I don't have anything unless the council has any questions about projects.
or the planning and zoning meeting tonight?
For that, yeah, answer questions.
I do. I missed the meeting. Didn't get to be part of the meeting. Can I just know what it went down?
Yeah,
Can I-
the
thank you.
planning and zoning commission voted 4-1 to not recommend moving the ordinance amendment forward.
Gotcha. Thank you. I tried to come in, but was reminded I couldn't.
All right, now, Park Board.
They did not meet. We're not probably meeting until March or April, depending on issues that might arise. I did meet with Splash Pad Committee yesterday. The splash pad is moving forward. In your claims, you had a check for $17,000 to Rain Deck. That is to hold the prices that we were quoted at. Because shocker, they were going to go up March 1st, a month after I got the quote. They were going to go up in a month. So we locked in the prices for all the splash pad equipment. Right now, the $35,000 that we said they could use would get them 3 pieces of equipment. They're looking to raise more funds to get 4 pieces of equipment for the splash pad. They're aware that any excess is on their responsibility to fundraise. It's the city is not paying extra for the features. The quote time for the splash pad shelter is going to close on Friday, so I will have an idea of how much that shelter is going to cost. We were awarded a grant of $150,000 for that shelter. I'm hoping the prices come in at that point, but right now with building is kind of up in the air. We don't know where it's going to be at. If they exceed the 150, we still can go forward with the project. If they go over 175, do we have to do sealed bids then, Greg?
I'd have to research that to know for sure.
Because that's the threshold. That's why I was scared about doing quotes, was the threshold of.
We do want the building on the ground, not up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's not a very large building we've seen from the pictures previously. So I'm hoping that it still can come in that. But Beneke, when I talked to them early mid-fall, they were thinking do the 120 to 150 range. I'm hoping that is the price for the shelter, indeed. There are some other issues that arose today that I have to figure out with utility committee, but we're hoping to work through them all and have this project done by, the goal is July 1st is the goal. That was the time we put for the shelter. We're hoping there's no supply chain issues with ordering stuff, receiving stuff. That is the biggest elephant in the room, is if that's going to hold us back for that time frame. It's one of those things where it's been a lot of knowledge and learning and how to do this stuff for a splash pad for a group that's not splash pad experts. So, it seems like I got to do everything twice, once the wrong way, then once the right way. So we're learning how to do it.
Good. Thank you for that. Library Board?
Yes, in front of you guys, I was told to bring this to your attention just to discuss it. The old drop box that we have over on the north side of the building is pretty old. I can't give you an exact year for how old it is, but they brought to my attention that when it rains, water's starting to leak through it down into the box, which means for maybe destroying books, getting them wet, ruining pages. This is one of the quotes that I was given. I did not come up with it. Kingsley is not anything to do with me. But the original price was $1,199, but the library gets a discount on it. So the new number there to your right is $1,116. And they were wondering if we could use either, some fund within the city or discuss it, I guess. If not, I think if worse comes to
Yeah, I was
worse.
gonna say, the fund this would come out would be the
Library.
community,
Library.
would be, they're asking for city fund. This fund that if you chose to be a city fund would be the community center building. That's why it's come before us. They're asking for it to be paid out of the community.
Does that mean
Building
that, have they couldn't have exhausted their budget yet?
Oh, no,
No,
I
no.
hope not.
Yep, this was just brought to discuss with you, but no, the budget is fine.
Mhm.
So just to discuss, I mean, it was nothing, no, but
My thoughts are this could come out of the library budget for now, and then if an important thing that they had budgeted for, but now don't have money for, they could ask.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to
Yep.
anybody else?
Yep.
makes sense.
Agree with that.
I think
Is
that's
that
the
it? I
direction
mean, is
we'd
that-
give
Yeah,
it.
Okay,
if,
there's no-
I don't, the library board approved the purchase, right?
Right,
So if they're coming out, if it's coming out of library fund, there doesn't need to be a
Okay.
motion. That's their
We're good.
fund. They
Yep.
agreed to it.
And
But if,
just convey the message that if later they're short
Yeah.
because of this, they can.
the budget's good. Yeah,
Money.
exactly. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Anything else from the library?
Yes, there's gonna be on Monday, February 28th at 7 p.m. at the Gem Theater, a little music show. I'm gonna butcher his name, but I'm gonna try for it. Diali Siskoho.
Perfect.
Yeah, it sounded good.
Can you spell it?
Yeah, I can spell
Sound
it,
and
yeah.
spell it.
Yeah, have a little spelling test up here, I guess. But so yeah, people want to come out, support the Gem Theater. There'll be concessions and stuff, and yeah, so Monday. night.
So it's a music,
Yep, it's a music, vocalists playing instruments, gentlemen. Mhm.
and the library board brought them in.
We brought them in. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's free. No, yep, no
No
charge.
charge.
No charge.
Was supplied by Rochester Civic Music?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, very good.
And that is all we got.
Arts Board meet?
We did. We have a new member, Maddie Burgee is one of the school members, new members. We basically, I guess the only thing is that we're having the open mic or Harmony Jam coming up February 19th from 5 to 7, something like that, 6 to 8, at the Harmony Golf Course.
Oh.
There's, I think we've secured 5 or 6 local acts, and then of course anybody that wants to come in and do open mic type stuff, and that was more than welcome. So we encourage the community to come out.
Very good.
Yeah, there's posters around town.
Fire Department,
And
we're all
good.
good on the
I
grant.
think we're good.
This might be a good time for me to announce that I received checks today from Greenfield Lutheran Church. They awarded the Harmony Ambulance $894 and the Fire Department $894. And also our Community Foundation, they donated 1,000. So I can leave that check there.
Thank you to them. That was nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did we get a sheriff's report?
I got it yesterday afternoon. So I will email, if you want it, I will email it to you
Okay.
in the attachment.
A little update for the squad has been sold for 12,000 minus
nice.
the enterprise fees of 350. So the check came, but it was made out to the sheriff's office, and we're getting it reissued to the city of Harmony for $11,650. So
Oh,
Yeah, so that'd be one thing that if we want to help pay for next quarters, it'd be easy to,
okay,
you mark that.
once we get the check here.
yes. Well, if we don't, we'll just deduct that. from-
We'll figure out a way if they don't change the name on it. So I know Lance is working on that to get that changed. So
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I would say if the council wants to take any action on that, planning and zoning issue, it should be set up tonight.
In other words, if you'd want to decide if you wanted to further consider it and have a public hearing now, probably based on the timeline of things.
I just want to make sure that didn't get overlooked.
So it voted 4-1
Against
against it.
against having a,
Any ordinance change.
Okay.
So it would leave the ordinance the same unless someone from the council wanted to
Okay.
bring forward to consider changing the ordinance.
Which is what we already met for, or what you already met for. Right?
Potentially.
Potentially.
That's the recommendation. Council can do different if they choose.
Help us out on this again.
Yeah, so what,
We just want to make sure we don't.
Yeah.
get it wrong.
so usually the council won't just schedule public hearings on a whim. So this would be a good time, as good time as any to decide if you wanted to further consider and schedule a public hearing for the next meeting, or not, basically. So it's no formal action tonight, other than just queuing things up so that notice can be published in the newspaper and posted properly 15 days in advance of the next meeting.
And if we were to have a public hearing, it wouldn't need to be on a council meeting night.
Correct, you could do it a different night.
we could do a special meeting for it.
Yep.
Just got to be
Our
15.
public hearings, are they council meetings?
If the council was hosting the public hearing, then it would be.
Okay.
And keep in mind, our city ordinance requires 15-day notice for any public hearings.
Okay.
$15-day notice. Let me see here. Look at that. Because
All right.
15 days.
Does anybody else have anything for our meeting?
Well, do we need to schedule a public meeting, I guess?
I'm trying to find a date, but 15 days be there. I guess my biggest thing is I do, but if March comes around, I'm probably not going to be.
We
But it'd be
have to do it
15.
For our March meeting.
The March meeting is March 8th.
Well, you could schedule it to coincide with that if you wanted to, but it'd have to be, if you schedule it now, it couldn't be any sooner than 15 days.
Yep.
Right. Either.
I make a motion to schedule
Yeah,
a public
but I
meeting.
just. We need a
You
specific.
want to put a date on it?
Date on it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to, first. I'm trying to figure out on the schedule.
You know, Councilman Weber said he wasn't going to be here for the March meeting.
And I'm possibly not, if Mindy, if we have a baby, I guess. I don't think I can call in and
So when you,
on that, but
when are you leaving?
26th.
Of February?
February, you're going to 26, and then, yeah, Mindy's.
It's Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday.
It's 15 days in the paper.
24th or
Ooh, 15
25th.
days in the
Yeah,
paper.
that's correct.
So that would push us into potentially March because it wouldn't go into the paper until next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they were nice to me, I could get it in next Monday paper.
That would still be into March though, right?
Yeah. Because that would be,
Yeah,
If it's a public hearing, you're going to be gone. If it's just to be gone, can we not be part of it then? Is that right? Is that what the new rule was? We can't?
If you're not here in person, I mean, you can still phone in and listen in,
Okay,
but you wouldn't be able to vote.
but you
Comment.
can't
You
can't
can
vote. Can you,
comment
yeah,
and-
can you
Yeah, I suppose
comment?
you could comment, but you wouldn't be able to vote.
You'd be out there, Tony. I'd be down there. Um, I second it, but I don't know if I'll
Okay.
be around for.
And
What is their date?
Her due date is March 15th, but
Oh, plenty of time.
it's now kid number two, so I don't. It's kid number
Are you
two.
violating HIPAA rules?
I might be. I might be. Hopefully she's not watching. But I don't know.
Well, March 1st.
Yeah, maybe could be March 1st.
We need 15 days. It's gonna. All right.
It's unfortunate because the state law is 10 days.
So if it was published Monday, that's the 14th. So then what's that? The first would be the 15th day, right?
What I was thinking.
Right, if you would.
Well, you can on that one.
Yeah.
This instance, you could.
Yeah, so first would technically work if it was published Monday.
And published means the date it comes out.
Yeah,
In-
The date that's on the newspaper.
the date's on the
not-
newspaper, not the Saturday it's delivered.
Right,
Oh,
right.
Because it's labeled Monday.
Oh, it is labeled
Yeah.
Monday. Okay.
Monday's
Okay.
paper.
Well, somebody doing the math. So-
We did. I
So
think
March 1st
is
works.
our
March 1st.
15 days.
All right.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's not a leap year, I don't think. So, we
28
don't-
days.
yeah, we don't have 29.
That's what I was thinking when I
Right. So your motion is to hold a public
public hearing
hearing.
on March 1st.
and I second it.
What time?
Seven PM. Seems like a good
7
time.
PM.
And we're stating the purpose of the meeting is
Purpose of the
to,
meeting.
Is to
Consider the-
reconsider the,
Just
Just to,
zoning,
Just go-
zoning
yeah,
ordinance
just zoning
amendment,
ordinance.
possible zoning ordinance amendment.
zoning ordinance amendment. Okay.
then we need to have a quick brief of the zoning ordinance, right?
Yeah, we want to get more specific in the newspaper notice than just that, but
Yeah, it's just gotta be, at least you can understand what's going on.
yeah, right. We don't necessarily need to spell all that out in the motion. For present purposes, we understand what you guys are doing with the motion.
The
Right.
notice doesn't have to be the 3-page ordinance thing you
Right.
drafted though.
So if it's is it the ordinance that would be considered and discussed at the public hearing wouldn't hold a vote on?
You don't have to vote that day, do they?
Correct. Public hearing would be, obviously, public would have a chance to do their input. Council could further discuss, pass something, not pass something, have, schedule another time to review it if you felt you need more time.
Okay.
You'd have a whole suite of options, basically.
Sure.
potentially it'd be us two gone.
What's that?
It'd be potentially us two gone.
Yep.
And then, I guess, yeah.
So with the other three, you'd still have quorum to be able to do it,
Okay.
as long as the other three showed up.
It would be good to have the zoning meeting minutes. you
Yep,
know,
I get those typed up.
Brief description of the discussion that was
Yep.
held there.
Well, it's a pretty brief discussion,
So we're
actually.
gonna go against the zoning committee's
Uh,
recommendation.
Pardon?
Not necessarily on this one yet.
We're gonna go against the zoning commission's recommendation.
Good.
Well, I don't think this motion goes against it. But
We still have to vote on the ordinance as a city council.
No, we don't.
no, we would if it was presented.
This is just to hear, have the town, I guess,
Yeah,
right? I
so-
mean, that's just,
So they recommended no changes. So if you guys were satisfied with no changes after discussing it tonight, no action is the same thing. But if you thought you wanted to either further to consider it yourselves or get input from the public, those would be reasons you would want
Have
to
a
schedule something like this.
That's why I was scheduled.
Either special or talked about the next meeting, either way. So it isn't inherently saying we
We're not
don't
going-
accept that recommendation. It's you saying you want to talk more about it or at least get public input before having that final decision.
I stand with my motion.
We have motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So the motion carries 3-2. Anything else for our meeting?
Quick question. We talked about doing the gym, getting it cleaned up and stuff.
Yeah, we're working on the application with the community foundation on that one. We need a little more information on the grant, but we're still working on that, getting that done.
Right, sounds good. Thank you.
Haven't forgot about it yet. And I was told the car chargers will be in the shop sometime in March for installation sometime in April or May.
Perfect. Thank you.
I don't know if I mentioned it directly to you, but I thought, because I'm on the community board also, I think it would be helpful to have some input from the people who have promoted and suggested the cleaning of the
I'll find Vicky
Community
tomorrow, gym
center.
pickleball.
help with the grant writing. Anybody else have anything? All right. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Yeah, we talked to Nicole here.